well, do I need to introduce Gabriela, who's been with us several times, also occasionally together with Dolores, specialized in similar fields, but today the subject, of course, being clients, and we're going to look at essential practices so that we know how to sustain our clients, because we're doing it right. And I think that knowing your extensive experience in translation and interpreting, I think it speaks for itself. I'd be happy if you bring a few key points.
Thank you, Gila. Shall I start sharing my screen? Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone, because I didn't turn on my microphone, so I didn't have the chance to say hi. I would like to say thank you to the conference organizers, not only for the opportunity to share my insights on this very important topic, but also for the opportunity that they have given all of us to reflect on the recent changes in the translation profession and the many challenges that we are facing as practitioners nowadays. We know that AI and automation are transforming almost all sectors, but the field of translation and language services is no exception. Every day we see new tools that promise to make our work faster and more efficient, but all these advancements come with a new set of risks. Working remotely, as we will discuss today, is another transformative change that we are also facing along with AI. You know that the boom of remote work is in the past few years has been incredible. The way that we work has been completely redefined, and we are no longer confined to offices or physical locations. We now have the flexibility to work from anywhere in the world. So we can claim nowadays that AI and remote work are part of a larger shift. Both are reshaping the way we work, right? And my question to you now is, how do you maintain your productivity, your security, and your safe connection in a digital world first? As we embrace the tools that AI provides, we must also adapt to a new remote environment. And it's not just about mastering technology, it's also about safely navigating a landscape that is constantly shifting, whether it's managing virtual teams, securing sensitive data across various platforms, or staying connected with clients who are miles away. These are all current challenges that we have to face. So let's see today how we can adapt, thrive, and remain secure in this exciting yet challenging new landscape. So studies show that 80% or more than 80% of cybersecurity breaches are caused by one main factor. Do you know which? Human error. This means that training and awareness are critical. So I would like to ask you again, how do you navigate this new landscape of digital threats before we move forward? For instance, how do you browse the internet safely? And how do you avoid malicious websites? What steps do you take to recognize and report phishing attempts before they compromise your security? How do you ensure that the files you download are free from hidden dangers? Or how do you conduct secure video meetings, safeguarding not only your conversations, but also your clients' sensitive data? So today we are going to dive into these challenges and I would like to empower you with knowledge and to take control of your digital security. First of all, let's take a closer look at some of the vulnerabilities that you probably have nowadays or that you are exposed to. For instance, a very common vulnerability is a weak password policy. I'm sure that Dolores talked about it today, and you know that a vulnerability is a weakness that can be exploited by an attacker. So attackers can use vulnerabilities to gain access to systems, install malware, or steal data. So how many of you have used a simple or repeated password across multiple platforms just to simplify your life? Well, it's convenient, as Dolores probably shared, many of us, in fact, to have a password manager. So you should start doing some research and looking for good password managers. Another common problem is inadequate encryption of sensitive data. When you send unencrypted files over the internet, you are leaving the door wide open for unauthorized individuals to access them. You know that sensitive documents should always be encrypted, no matter whether you are sending them to clients or to your own collaborators. Another common issue or vulnerability is the lack of secure communication protocols. It's imperative to use secured email or messaging platforms for communication. Also, it is very important not to use outdated systems because they are a gold mine, or updates to install all updates because they are a gold mine for hackers. So we have to keep ourselves aware and provide training to all the people and the collaborators that are with us. Without proper training, even the most secure systems can be compromised. Another typical vulnerability is, as you see the last one there, is lack of physical security measures, because while most of us are probably focused on digital threats, physical security is just as important. Devices that contain sensitive information, such as laptops or smartphones or hard drives, should be protected against theft or unauthorized access. Whether you are working in an office or remotely, keeping your devices secure is a key part of protecting your work. So as we continue to navigate this digital landscape, we must recognize that security isn't just about having the right tools. It's about creating a culture of security. By understanding these vulnerabilities and implementing the right measures, we can protect not only our data, but also the trust that our clients place on us. So many threats arise from seemingly harmless activities, such as browsing or downloading files. So before we move forward, let me remind you of some basic security practices, such as installing an antivirus, being very cautious with downloads, and not clicking on suspicious links. It's incredible, but we are still having a lot of issues about clicking. So that's why there was a campaign, sorry about my voice. There was a campaign called Think Before You Click that I would like to share with you. So the idea here is slow down, consider what or who you are interacting with online, and think about what you are about to do before you do it. Listen.
People across the world are targeted. Some of us never fall victim, while others aren't so fortunate. It can happen before you realize, and it can start with a simple... Maybe you receive an email that you thought was from your closest friend, or your boss needs you to send some information that you know they wouldn't normally ask for. It can happen just like that. Cybercrime is real. Don't fall victim. Don't be scared. Be cautious and think before you click. A friendly reminder from Calmer Solutions, taking care of technology so you can take care of business. Every day, people...
Sorry. Could you listen to the audio? because I forget to check. Well, this campaign has been launched by many cybersecurity firms over the year, as well as pioneered by organizations like the BBC to make people safer online. So today I'm going to bring you, a few recommendations. One great resource, for instance, is Virus Total. You can use it for checking the safety of files, domains, and IPs. This platform allows you to upload files, enter URLs, as you can see here, or check IP addresses. It's free, and believe me, it's a great resource. It's simple and it's powerful. So in that way, you can be sure that all the files you are sharing or receiving are safe. Another possibility is that you came across a phishing attempt, and it's crucial to report it to help prevent others from falling victim of a phishing attempt. So a website like Google Safe and Fish Tank, for instance, allow you to report phishing attempts and verify suspicious link. So I strongly recommend you using these kind of websites when you encounter a problem, or when you know a friend or a colleague has encountered a problem. Another important, very important security practice is encryption. Encryption is used to protect data from being stolen, from being changed, or compromised. It is the process of converting ordinary information like plain text into an intelligible, also known as ciphertext, that can only be decrypted by authorized parties. Encryption can be done, as you can see there, while data is in two different states, whether at rest on a hard drive, for example, or in motion while you are sending it to a colleague over the internet. And it can also be applied in different ways. We can encrypt the full disk of a computer. We can encrypt just the file, an email, or the information we share through some kind of communication we have with clients or with colleagues. For a full disk encryption, we encrypt the entire computer. But the only issue is that the full disk encryption is that when the computer is on, this is only valid when it's off. When it's on, all the computer is decrypted. So for full disk description, there are a number of options available. If you have Microsoft, for example, there is a commercial version of Microsoft. You have BitLocker. And if you have Mac, you have FileVault. These are two great tools to encrypt your computer while it's at rest. So there are also two main types of encryption: symmetric encryption and asymmetric encryption. In the case of symmetric, you use the same key for encryption and decryption, so it's not that safe, whereas asymmetric encryption is particularly valuable for secure communication because a sender encrypts data using a public key, and the recipient will decrypt this information using his or her private key. This method ensures that even if your message is intercepted, the message remains secure. And if you are not ready to install or use an encryption software, I recommend at least using this kind of encryption in Gmail. For instance, you know that when you have, I guess that most of you have Gmail, when you click on Compose, you have an option that is called toggle confidential mode. So in these ways, recipient won't have the option to forward, copy, or print or download your email. So if you want to send a very private, confidential email, I encourage you to do this. And you can also set how long they can view your email, or it will require a passcode to the recipient that you can send to that person by SMS, for instance, and only him or her will be able to open that. Failing to encrypt sensitive information can bring serious risks and problems. such as data breaches that expose client information, your professional reputational damage, and why not legal consequences for failing to comply with data protection laws. So, as I previously mentioned, many security breaches occur due to human error. So I encourage you to apply some of these best practices. First of all, it's important to ask your team to connect, as Dolores mentioned today, over VPNs. VPNs are really cheap considering how important they are for the security of our information. You have different kinds of VPNs, but I strongly recommend you to do some research and find a good one. This extra layer of security, also installing a multi-factor authentication, gives you an extra layer of security. And you can start asking your clients to use a multi-factor authentication when you send information over the internet. Another important thing is educating your collaborators on how to spot, and yourself, on how to spot phishing emails. You know that there are things like that are very typical of phishing emails, like that things like the mail, the links that they use don't match the domain, or maybe an email that is not personalized and you find it a little weird, or an email that tries to panic you in some way, gives you a sense of urgency, or it can also be an email that offers something that sounds too good to be true. Another possibility is an email with a simplistic or missing email signature. That's another typical case of phishing. And another important practice is to ensure physical security, as we mentioned before. We know that work takes place online, but your laptop could be stolen in an airport or on a train, and that could open your network to a host of cyber threats. So make sure your team and you know that they should never leave work devices unattended. Close, for example, to open windows or in cars. These cases are very common. Even when you are working from home, you have to be vigilant of children and pets. That's another, because they can easily delete work by accident, among other things. So you have to be sure to watch out also for people peering at your screen when you are in a public place. All these practices may sound simple, but some of us are forgotten by us. Another typical thing is to use secure platforms, as we mentioned before, to encrypt information, or because you cannot risk valuable resources from your client. And it's also very important to educate yourself and your team on cyber threats and ask them why not to sign a confidentiality agreement. Another very important practice is to back up your data securely, not to leave your backup devices anywhere. And last but not least, I'm going to talk a little more about this, is to secure your video meetings. Popular video apps like Zoom have been under scrutiny for a surge in attacks in which hackers hijacked video meetings to spread malicious content. So we have to be very aware of that too. So there are some tips here about how to keep your video calls safe. You have to consider using a paid version. Not every setting is available to free Zoom users, and when that's the case, there is a note at the top letting you know of all the limitations. It's also very important to create invite-only meetings, like in this specific conference. This feature is for paid Zoom accounts. And in invite-only meetings, people sign in using the same email address that you used to invite them. That's a way to ensure that people are who they say they are. And you can find this in an option called authentication profiles. So once you have this setting enabled, anyone else who tries to join your meeting will see a notification on the screen telling them that the meeting is only for authorized attendees. Another important thing is to use a PMI, a unique PMI and password for calls. When you create an account, the application, the Zoom application, assigns you a PMI, also known as Personal Meeting ID. However, you have a second option, which is to generate a unique ID instead of using your PMI, the PMI that is assigned by the application. So let me explain how they are different. The PMI is handy in specific circumstances, such as recurrent informal meetings with a small group. You can use it over and over again, and it never expires, and people can join you without having to hand down this week's login code or link. It is always, the link is always the same. So if you are having a confidential and work meeting, I strongly recommend you creating your own PMI and password. Another important thing is to create a waiting room. It's by default sometimes, but you have to consider and check if it is already created, because in this way, if you don't create a waiting room, the first person that logs can enter a call. So for some kind of calls, you might not want to let participants chat with each other or even let the call officially start until you, the host, start the meeting. So remember to create a Zoom waiting rooms when participants, so that when participants log into the call, they see the waiting room screen and they can have access once you grant the access to them. Okay, another one is very important, and to log meetings after you start the conversation, the meeting. Because in that way, you are sure that no one else will join the meeting unexpectedly. Even though it might be an invite-only meeting, sometimes it happens that people can have access to your link and can enter. So that is another very important practice to start applying. And as John Malloy, who is a cybersecurity expert, said, security is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. We should always keep updated and see different cybersecurity websites and listen to podcasts so as to know what are the current threats and how we can survive them and try to tackle them in a very effective way. I strongly recommend you to implement some security measures that we have been sharing today with Dolores so as to work in a safe manner and ensure the best to your clients. And as Satya Nadella, the current CEO of Microsoft, said, it's not enough to protect your data. You need to protect your customers' data too, right? So this is it. I hope you find this presentation useful for your daily practices. And I am open to any questions you might have, or you can reach me out in any of these contacts. You have my email, my website. I have to work more on my personal branding, according to Jason, and also Twitter. Okay? Well, and stay safe and secure, please.
Wow, thank you so much, Gabriela. Sure, there must be questions. I'd like to ask one, but I'm happy to wait for somebody else to ask questions first.
Okay.
If anybody else would like to, please go ahead.
Blackmail and threats, extortion, yes, of course, unless you send money. Well, obviously, you shouldn't even open those emails. Be careful of emails. Don't click, think before you click on an email, before obviously on a link. That's even worse, you know. Well, you can report them in the website I shared, VirusTotal, and the one about phishing, the one in Google, is a good resource to report phishing attacks or malicious emails. Fish tank, yes, fish tank, same as Google Safe. Yes, thank you, Gila.
Okay, you showed very quickly, but it was very small. You showed where to find the encryption option on Google Letters, on Gmail. But I didn't.
Shall I share them again?
Could you just go back and give us
Yes.
and maybe show it again? Thank you.
Do you mean this one or do you mean the one in Gmail? This one, right?
The one in Gmail, yes.
Yes, you have the toggle confidential mode that is right here. If you click on your Gmail, it's really useful for some specific cases that you don't want some confidential information to be shared, forwarded. Okay, so, and you can, it's useful that to know that it will automatically expire after the days that you, the number of days you decide. It can expire in 1 day, 1 week. So when you want an email to be strictly confidential, do not forget to use this specific mode that Google offers to us. It's really useful.
Thank you so much.